Welcome, everybody. This is our April meeting of NMSR, New Mexicans for Science and Reason. And our speaker today is Dr. Arjak Bhattacharjee. And he's an assistant professor in the Materials and Metallurgical Engineering Department at New Mexico Tech in Socorro. His research areas include sustainability with industrial and plastic waste, manufacturing of polymer ceramic composites for tissue engineering, and ancient material science and technologies. He got his PhD at Washington State University in Pullman, Washington, and did postdoc work at Tufts University. So I got to know him when I needed somebody to help with 3D painting for the big art show, and Arjak kindly stepped up to do that. So, and before he gets to talking, we do have a major new event coming up. It's called Skepticamp, and it'll be June 1st and 2nd. And we've already got some dynamite speakers. It'll be about 10 to 12 talks over a couple days and some social events. So it should be fun. We got Ben Radford and Larry Barker from KRQE, and Frank Etzkorn has a lecture, and we've got some people flying from California and Florida. So should be a fun event. So keep your ears out for that. That'll be in June. So without further ado, I'm delighted to introduce Dr. Arjak Bhattacharjee. And he's going to talk about the Indian knowledge system and how it relates to doing good science. So let me anoint you with the speaker oil. And here we go. So I'm going to make you a co-host.
Yes.
So if you have a presentation or anything, you should be able to share it.
Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Looking good. Very good.
So now I will go for a full screen view. Now?
Still there.
Okay. Is it a full screen view?
Looks full screen. Looks great.
Okay. So thank you so much, David, for the nice introduction. So today I am going to talk about Indian knowledge system. So last year we published a book. So these four authors, and I was the lead author. And the name of the book was Ancient Indian Science, Technologies and Culture, Decoding the Vedas from Engineering to Consciousness. So Vedas are the most ancient text written like long back, more than around, like people say it is like probably around 5,000 years back. So the Vedas were written in Sanskrit. So Sanskrit is an ancient language, and it has been recognized as mother of many languages. So let me see if I can dive deep into this. Yeah. So this is the book, and as you mentioned, the Indian knowledge system. So so in this book, like we distributed the book in 7 chapters. So first one was the introductory chapter, where we talk about about India, then decoding ancient scriptures, and segment of science and technology in ancient Indian scriptures, and then why do we need to know about this, and the ancient solution to modern problems, etc. Then we classified it in medicine, practice of medicine. So many of you probably heard nowadays about yoga, meditation, and Ayurveda. So practice of medicine, it was known as Ayurveda. So here we talked about what is the philosophy, and then Ayurvedic treatment approach to any disease. So Ayurvedic treatment approach a little bit different as compared to like the molecular medicine treatment approach. So I will be talking in one two slides on that. And then we went to the specific references with dental treatment, how people used to perform dental treatment, let's say 3,000 years back, eye treatment, and even surgical methods, etc. And initial like stages and initial discoveries about cancer treatment also. We still get those references in this like ancient Indian scripture. Then we connected this modern scientific research with this Ayurvedic concept of healthcare, and also few of the Nobel prizes, like for example this intermittent fasting Nobel Prize, autophagy and all. So these concepts were like described long back in different names. So we have talked about that as well. And then chapter number 3 is like on engineering. So ancient Indian engineering, a major part was about metallurgy and material science. So I am incidentally, my own background is also in metallurgy, material science, and ceramics. And then like we touched upon about mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and few advanced one at that time were textile technology, agricultural engineering, etc. And then we talked about the basic science, so advancement of physics and astronomy, because Aryabhatta was the inventor of like zero, and then he calculated the value of pi at that time. Just remember, without any telescope and all. And later, the value of pi currently what we get is about 3.14 something. So his value and the current value, those two are extremely close, very close actually. And then other parts of mathematics, and even like ancient Indians also described in mathematical formulas. So in Sanskrit language, if you translate that, that closely correlates with Newton's laws of motion. So that also it like provided with references and different types of chemistry and related research, etc. And then chapter 5 and 6, I did not write those. One of our co-authors, Devashish, so he wrote these two chapters. So one chapter is on architecture, like what was the overall philosophy of like temple construction and at that time architectural construction, and another one was art. And then I came back again in chapter 7, and that was on consciousness studies. So currently consciousness studies are gaining a lot of momentum in modern research. That's why like we call it as cognitive studies, and Harvard is becoming a pioneer in this research, like both through Harvard Divinity School and also other sections as well. So here we talked about like consciousness studies was like, I will say, the most advanced. If you ask me to tell that like if ancient Indian science and technology, if there are 10 segments, which one was the most advanced, I will tell this one. That is consciousness studies. So we will talk about this in one of the slides as well. So this is the overall all together, this thing like is called as the Indian knowledge system, or IKS. So now, for example, so ancient text we classify in two ways. Actually, three classification. One is the basic classification, another one is complementary text, and the other one is supplementary text. So the terms may sound not familiar to you because many of the terms are Sanskrit. So I will mainly mention about the English translation. That is thus we can understand. So the basic text was the Vedas. And Veda, we have four different part of the Vedas. So one is Rig Veda, that is the ancient, then Sama Veda, Yajur Veda, and Atharva Veda. So all these four different types of Vedas, they talk about like different aspects. Like for example, Sama Veda is totally on the musical component of the Vedas. Then Rig Veda is based on the rituals, like this one. Then this complementary text, we call it as Upanga. Like just I mentioned Ayurveda. Ayurveda is part of this complementary text, and it talks about medicine. Another one is Dhanurveda. So Dhanurveda talk about this strategy war, and then Dhanu means like the bow and arrow. So that one. And then Gandharva Veda and Artha Veda. So Artha Veda is basically like economy. And in Athaveda, there is a text called Silpa Samhita, that's engineering. So today will be mostly like consider this one, that is the medicine part, and this one, that is engineering part. And there are other supplementary texts as well. So now, if we look here, so then each Veda. So that means we learned that like there are four Veda, one, two, three. These are the four Vedas. These are the most ancient texts. Now, if we consider each Veda, so each Veda is classified in this way. Like one is Samhita, that is one segment. So now we are talking about the segment of each Veda. So one is Samhita, another one is called Brahmanas, Aranyaka, and the last one is called Upanishads. So Upanishads, so this is evolved, like Upanishad has evolved with time. And like I was saying about consciousness studies, so these Upanishads are the most advanced text in Indian knowledge system that talk about consciousness studies. like what is the concept of consciousness and all. So we came to know about that. That's why, and it has evolved with time with numerous research and all, and this is the like most authentic one in the this Vedas. And then regarding the engineering, so engineering there it's broadly classified into three segment. So again I am skipping the Sanskrit term, I'm just translating the English term. So one talks about this art science, another talks about this architecture, and another one talks about this various types of transportation system. So we know that this Indus Valley civilization also, so they gave a lot of importance in this architecture and transportation. So then, so these are just the classification that we get references. So the left ones are the Sanskrit names and the right one are the closest possible English name. So exact English translation is a little bit difficult, but these are the closest possible. For example, various branches of engineering, we get the references of about this Silpa Shastra, that is the text on engineering. About Krishi, Krishi is like, some people say it as a biological engineering, some say it as agricultural engineering. We can take a mix of these two. Then the one is water resource engineering, and then the other one is a mining related thing we get. And water resource was one, and another one was water transport as well. And then we talk like we get a idea about this ground transport as well. Then aerospace and building architecture, and then port, town planning, different types of machines, etc. There is some noise coming, I think, in the background. Is audio, somebody's audio on? Yeah, yeah, now it's better. Thank you. And then like in these various branches of medicine, so like these are the various references we got, and again these are the closest like translation. It may not be exact the same English word, but as close as possible. One was about internal medicine, then pediatric, then another one was psychiatry, then ENT and head, and all surgeries, and then also toxicology, because at that time like people used to have a lot of snake bite and all. So there is a completely different segment on toxicology. And then like rejuvenation therapy and etc. So these are the different types of like various branches of medicine in ancient India. So now the thing is that what is the basic difference between this like modern science, the way we pursue it, and ancient Indian science? So basically modern science, if we look at this, so modern science relies on the observation. So modern science is based on the observation and acknowledges the physical existence of nature. So first of all, modern science thinks that, okay, this is the physical existence of nature. Can we describe it? The answer is yes. If we can see something, if we can experimentally prove something, if we can describe something, we will accept it. If we cannot do that, we are not going to accept it. Then another thing is that like modern science consider this nature and human brain. Again, this there are two, three subtle terms. One is brain, one is mind, another one is consciousness. Until recently, modern science used to consider the brain and mind as the same thing. But when cognitive science came into the picture, then they realized brain, mind, consciousness, those are completely three distinct things. And it has been referred 5,000 years back in this Upanishads, like I was telling, the Vedanta, that yes, brain and mind, these two are not the same thing. These are separate entities. And mind is the part of the consciousness, whereas brain is the part of this physical existence or part of the body. Now like, so that's why like ancient Indian science, they found a profound interconnection between what is happening in nature and human mind, because human mind, our thought and nature, so these two are interrelated. It is not a separate entity. Like whenever we talk about set diagram, it is like a Venn diagram, it is the intersecting point is there. So then, like through spiritual practices, ancient sages, they concluded that the same universal laws govern both the nature and the human mind. That's why our mind and nature, we have a harmonious relationship in this two. It is not like we are distinct. I think nowadays we are realizing it. That's why we are focusing a lot on sustainability and research related domain. Like, but the seed was there 5,000 years back itself. That's why this unified consciousness, that means consciousness is all pervading and it is defined as a one unity, one infinite entity. So that means, for example, if we have an ocean with infinite amount of water, if we take one glass of water or one bucket of water, does not matter. So water is infinite, so it is, so the same way consciousness is the same thing. It is considered as infinite part of this cosmos, and since it is infinite, that means if I am a part of the consciousness, technically I am also infinite from the consciousness perspective, but from the body's perspective I am not infinite. Body or like health or even brain, yes, I am the physical entity and I look like this, these are my organs and all, like this way. So that is the difference between consciousness and human body. Now, so if we look at our society's ultra modern problems across the globe, so first problem, like these are the major problems, like, so this we summarized and some people will come up with some different problems, of course, yes, and that's why like these are the overview we summarized. One is a global warming and like negative effects on the climate. So one is the sea level rise, loss of biodiversity, etc. Then negative effects on our health, like mental health crisis is a huge challenge nowadays across the globe, and also we are like getting this fatal diseases and all. And overall like negative impact on society, so negative impact of society is degradation of human values. So that is a negative impact of overall society. So now the thing is that if I go with a few statistics, so then with, and those are collected from authentic references. If you look at the references, and even some references are from top quality journals as well, like Lancet, it is world's best journal. Science Advance, it is from Science Group and all. So if we look at the like statistics, so for example, climate change is projected to put 100 million people worldwide to extreme poverty by 2030. I think after COVID it is probably expedient. Next is another disease like malaria is anticipated to see a global increase of 5% and total affecting 150 million individuals. I took an example of malaria. There are example of other disease as well. Now, 1 degree Celsius in global temperature rise leads to a 6% reduction in global wheat production and 10% reduction in rice yield. That is not a good symbol. And these factors will result in malnutrition, affecting about 10 million children. This is a projection by United Nations, this report. So 10 million children by 2050. Then if we look at currently, like in modern society, we have a lot of comforts, but at the cost of what? Like for example, air pollution. So air pollution causes 7 million premature deaths each year. The loss of biodiversity may lead to the highest mass extinction event in the past 65 million years. That Science Advance article, they reported this number actually. They do some research and reported it. In December, 42% of US adults reported symptoms of anxiety and depression, reflecting a 31% increase. I think this is after December 2020 because it is after effects of COVID. And this is the statistics I got from the United States. And if we look at other nations, I think the statistics will be, almost similar or maybe a little less or maybe a little more. But ultimately, like this is a like mental health crisis is a big challenge in modern society. So then, so now the thing is that, so what is the overall philosophy that has been described in ancient Indian texts? Like if we would have followed it, we would have probably like we would not have to face many of this. I'm not saying all of this, but yes, of course, we would have prevented many of this, particularly those things related to sustainability and mental health. So for example, so there the lifestyle, so the prescribed lifestyle in this Vedas, they described that the first one was the harmony with the nature and the cosmos, and it has been described long back, and now we are understanding it. Yes, it is so much important for a sustainable development, for a sustainable society. That is number one. Number two is self inquiry. Like self inquiry, the path of the meditation and yoga. So like there is a misconception that people think that, many of the time think that yoga means like doing some postures. No, yoga is not that. Like doing some postures are a part of yoga, but yoga, 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 if I translate to English, that translates to union. Yoga is represented by, in Sanskrit language, if we call yoga, means it's a plus sign, like plus one plus two, like those plus sign. So that means it's an union of what? Union of consciousness. That means it's an individual soul, if we represent that individual soul as the part of the universal consciousness, and infinite is the universal consciousness. So merging, like connection between these two, that we called as yoga, that is self inquiry. And another one is the path of dharma. What is dharma? So many of the time, like dharma has been translated to religion, but no, dharma is not religion. So dharma means morality and righteousness, like whichever is moral and whichever is righteous. Many of the time, if we look at ancient war related to Mahabharata, so Mahabharata is a famous Indian epic. So here, there you will see it was a like battle. It was a war between law versus righteousness. Something is legal or somebody is abiding the law does not mean that that person is righteous. So that is the thing. Like we should keep righteousness and morality above the law. So that's why we call it as the path of dharma, the path of morality. So that means like we know that Gautam Buddha prescribed eightfold paths: not to harm anybody, not to steal, not to lie, etc. So these are all the, like, these all comes under the path of dharma. So now yeah, so now like I was talking about this like medical sciences, Ayurveda. So Ayurvedic science, so basically as I said in the first slide itself, that like there was a like ancient sages, they tried to connect this universal element and the elements in human body. How can we do that? Like universal element means what? Fire, water, earth, air, and we can also connect space. Like those are the five parts, right? And then like human body, they consider it in three aspects. So again, I am talking the English term. So one is the energy of movement. Whenever a movement happening, so that is related to one energy. Another one is the energy of this digestion or metabolism, and the other one is the energy of lubrication and structure. Then this holistic medicine system is known as the Ayurveda. So basically, if you see energy of movement, so Ayurvedic treatment, they describe this body's symptoms, any disease or any symptom of the body with this way. Like if somebody's body type is Vata, that means it is considered as like space element and air element is predominating in them. Pitta means the fire and water element is predominating, and Kapha means the water and earth element are predominating. Now the thing is that what is the cause of any disease? So again, it is from a holistic viewpoint. The cause of any disease is only one, that is imbalance of these doshas. So for example, imbalance of this space and air element, like those elements are inside our body. So whenever we see an imbalance, it leads to the body response to a disease. So that is one thing. Now the thing is that modern medicine is different in this way. Like modern medicine is more of a the like Ayurveda is more of a preventive. So how can we prevent these diseases? Through our lifestyle. That is the holistic purpose of Ayurveda. That is number one. And modern medicine comes into picture when we have some disease. Then modern medicine will do molecular analysis, then modern medicine will do diagnostic, and modern medicine is very good in terms of those things. And then modern medicine will treat the disease. But so that's why nowadays there is an importance to connect both of these, because modern medicine is also important. We can never deny that if I have certain disease, I have to get it treated. And also Ayurveda gives us the direction by which we can avoid most of the diseases. So that's why we need, so basically many of the diseases are nothing but our like lifestyle choices and what we are eating and how we are living a lifestyle. Many of the diseases are like that. So that's why we need to find a proper balance between these two. Now, so that was about prevention of disease. What about cure of a disease? Whenever somebody, let's say for example 5000 years back, if somebody got a disease, then how to cure that? So to cure that, so they describe the use of various herbs. And one recent statistic said nowadays like 1 in 5 adult in the United States, they are moving towards, leaning to more towards this naturopathic treatments. So herbs, for example, treatment of cold and inflammation. So why they prescribed herbs like the spices, like turmeric that we eat, like that we use as a spice. So it has a lot of medicinal benefits. And then because these herbs can influence any of the doshas. So for example, like space, air, and whatever element is like whatever element is mapped in our body and whatever is an imbalance. So depending on that, like these herbs can influence. But I also want to make a caution that so we have a tendency that we are going natural, that means we take everything. That is not also good, because for example turmeric is prescribed as a medicine. Many of the time you will see like if people just without any caution or without getting their body checked by an Ayurvedic practitioner, if they start just taking turmeric, the body may have, like, body may show negative effects, because probably that person body type is falling in a region that turmeric cannot nullify that dosha. Rather, probably for that person some other herb will be beneficial. So that's why, like, without any proper judgment or regulation, we should not just go and take herbs, because that is also one kind of medicine, so we have to remember that. But usually this turmeric and all, usually I'm saying in a general sense, usually they are also very good in terms of this reducing cold and inflammation, etc. So then, like, one example I am giving, that is, so this one is directly from my research. So what I did was, like, this turmeric, if you look at the advantages, and turmeric, the active compound is this one, curcumin. So if we look at the advantages, like I was telling, like, it was antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, as well as it was chemopreventive, and these are all proven by modern researchers. But at the same time, the limitations of turmeric is, like, its bioavailability is poor, and it is hydrophobic. So hydrophobic means, like, whenever we take turmeric, we can see it in a very simple experiment. Like, if we take water and if we, like, put turmeric, so the turmeric is not going to dissolve, because that is hydrophobic. So now the thing is that that's why what we need to do is, like, we need to increase this bioavailability of curcumin or turmeric. And turmeric, because of its anti-inflammatory property, it, so the research that I did was, like, I fabricated this 3D printed scaffold for bone implant. And then, like, we did some like, both lab scale studies as well as animal studies. In lab scale, we checked that whether this turmeric can kill the, like, bone cancer cell, that we checked in the lab scale. And in animal models, we also checked that whether this can help to form the new bone. Can it help in a new bone formation? And we did see that yes, turmeric can help in new bone formation. Now these scaffolds can be used in this way, like, whenever, let's say, for example, if somebody has a bone cancer or osteosarcoma, so this is the third most common cancer among young adults in the United States. So then what happens is, sometimes we need to do the surgery, and if we are doing the surgery, the, like, the critical defect, so the size of the defect that we are creating is sometimes greater than the size that a bone can naturally heal. That means what? That means we need to put a support structure, thus bone can automatically grow in that support structure. That's why this ceramic scaffold, like hydroxyapatite or tricalcium phosphate, those comes into the picture. And here I'm just showing an example of my research where I, like, loaded turmeric extract, that is curcumin, and then we, like, checked it in the animal model. So that's what, like, these are these natural molecules, and the origin of this treatment approach is coming from this Ayurvedic treatment. Now, if we look at the few glimpses of engineering, so in New Delhi, so this is one thing, if you go to New Delhi, which is India's capital, so there you will find out an iron pillar, and that iron pillar is constructed about 5,000 years back, but you will not see any rust on that iron pillar even after 5,000 years. What is the reason behind it? So basically, so, like, that is one of the wonders, and it is not in New Delhi. So it was in India. There is a coastal state called Odisha in the east coast of India. So there also you will see many of the temples, they use this type of pillars, so these are rustless. So people usually came out with different theories. So for example, some people told that, like, to discredit the scientific advancement, they told that no, it is happening because Delhi's climate, because Delhi's climate is not very humid, that's why it is not absorbing the moisture, that's why there is no rust. Then the actual researchers they put a counter logic. Okay, if this is the case with Delhi, what about the coastal state? Because Odisha is a coastal state, and there you are seeing similar type of technology where you cannot see any rust there. What is the secret behind it? The secret behind it was, like, researched by one professor and described in this paper. So he was a very famous professor in IIT. So IIT is India's best institutes for engineering. So he is no more, but he did a very good research. So they found out with this, like, chemical analysis of these components, that this iron were doped with phosphorus. So even today also we do this. Like, what happen is, whenever we are doping phosphorus in iron or steel, phosphorus has the potential to coat this with a phosphorus pentoxide layer. And whenever we are seeing this phosphorus pentoxide layer, that layer becomes a barrier for moisture and air to penetrate. That's why even today, if you go here at Delhi, so it is near the Qutub Minar, you will find out that this rustless iron pillar is there. That is number one. Next, I am coming another thing, like many of these ancient temples, most of these ancient temples will find out this type of wheel like on top of this ancient temple. And it is, and even today also, whenever we construct the temple, like we usually put this type of wheels. Why? So basically, so that is called chakra or trishul, so that is the Indian name. So we put the paddy grains on the top, because there is a metal as well as the paddy grain, so conductor and insulator. That means it gives rise to a very high value of capacitance. So it is nothing but a thunder arrestor. So almost all ancient temple you will find this type of structure. It is nothing but the thunder arrestor. What happened whenever there is a lightning storm? So this metallic rod, it is it is actually conducting the charge, and it is reducing the effect of the storm. And also, like there was a ancient Indian text called Vaimanika Shastra. So Viman means like this aircraft. So aircraft designs. So Maharshi Bharadwaj, there is an ancient text where Maharshi Bharadwaj was an ancient Indian sage. So he gave the designs of this aircraft. So many of us, we know that Leonardo da Vinci was the first one to give these designs of the aircraft. While I'm not discounting his effort, of course, he gave the design of the aircraft, but many hundred years before him, this was existing. A little bit different designs, but these designs are still existing. But now the question is whether there was an existence of aeroplanes in ancient time or not, that I don't know, but my personal feeling is probably not. It was mainly the design. Most likely there was it was just the design was given, but the aeroplane came in modern century only. Like in modern century, we made these aeroplanes. Probably at that time there was no aeroplane. That is my feeling. But again, I need to look into more. But because I did not get any authentic references that talk that one, that's what I'm saying. And then another thing is that, like electrolytic cell, so there is a book, like chemistry book, that is called Agastya Samhita. So this is a Sanskrit text. So Sanskrit text in taken from that book, and then they talk about the formula of construction of an electric cell. So now if we translate this, so the English translation of this Sanskrit text is this: like well cleaned copper plate in a vessel and then cover it with copper sulfate and then moist sand wash, etc. That means one is cathode, another one is anode, another one is electrolyte. And one professor, it in another IIT, so he actually tested the same formula to see that whether they can actually construct a preliminary electrolytic cell. The answer was yes. They were able to construct a preliminary electrolyte cell, and they reported it in one journal article as well, and that was quite a good journal article. So that was one of the another glimpse of engineering in ancient India. And then I think this is the last slide for me. So here, this is the science of consciousness. So as I was telling, that if somebody asked me like which one was the most advanced, I will say this consciousness studies was the most advanced. So if we look at the modern consciousness theories, so there are three modern consciousness theory. One is integrated information theory, that is called IIT. Another one is global neural workspace theory. Another one is higher order thought theory. So these are the three most theories accepted by the cognitive science researchers across the globe. So integrated information theory is like consciousness is a collection of information. That is one. Then global neural workspace. So global neural workspace means it is saying that all beings are connected like a neural network, and like we are also a part of the neural network. And like each of these theories, what they are doing is they have now started accepting consciousness is a separate entity from the brain or from the mind. It is a completely separate entity. So now the exact definition of consciousness, it is extremely difficult to tell what is the exact definition of consciousness. So something like we can say this way, like if we have a, let's say, metal, and that is illuminated by the light, that illumination is the consciousness, but neither the metal is the consciousness nor the light is the consciousness. It is like that. So, and another thing that, like, So the study of cognitive science was referred as Atmavidya, or the science of self, or consciousness studies. And it was mentioned in the Advaita philosophy. So Advaita philosophy, as I was telling in the beginning, that it described consciousness as an infinite entity. So it's a single infinite entity across the globe. Now there is a lot of debate going in the scientific community that can artificial intelligence build a conscious machine. So far artificial intelligence is doing everything, but so far it is not able to build a conscious machine. If I take theoretically that yes, it is probably possible in the near future that AI will be able to build a conscious machine. But then people might think that okay, AI is able to build consciousness. That's the problem. No, consciousness is an infinite entity, is only one entity. Even if AI can build a conscious machine, it is not violating this ancient consciousness laws, ancient consciousness theories, because consciousness has been described as an infinite entity. Now, so there are four paths prescribed in a scripture called Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita talks about like how can we connect with this infinite consciousness. So the first question coming to our mind, that is called the hard problem of consciousness, is that if consciousness is infinite, if then I am also infinite because I am a part of the consciousness. But I cannot see myself as an infinite. I am seeing myself in this body and I am seeing myself, I'm thinking I'm associated with that and all. Is there any way that we can make a bridge between these two? So the answer is yes. So Bhagavad Gita prescribed about four different types of practices, and these practices is dependent on one's independent choice. It is not forced on anybody. So one is bhakti yoga, that is the pure devotion. So whenever somebody is doing a devotion, they usually do the devotion in a form of God or in a form of idol or something like that, because it is the easiest form of devotion, to imagine a picture of God and idol and then pray or something. That is one. Then here, like whenever another problem is whenever we follow this path of devotion, the highest level of devotion is that we are not expecting anything in return. So but we are just praying to the consciousness, or we are just trying to merge with the consciousness, that yes, I am a part of this consciousness, I want to merge with this. I am not expecting anything in return. That is called bhakti yoga. Bhakti means devotion. Another one is karma. Karma means service. So karma yoga is a selfless service. For example, any charitable work, any donation, any good work for people, all this comes under karma yoga. But karma yoga, again, if we look there, many of the times it is quite possible that we expect something in return, that somebody will recognize me, somebody will praise my efforts and etc. So that is not karma yoga. Karma yoga means selfless service. If I am helping somebody, if I am doing some work, I am doing it without any expectation. And these expectations are the reasons behind our sorrow, behind our desires. Whenever we have some desires, if that desire is not fulfilled, we start feeling sad. We get sorrow in our life. That's why it has been told that Karma Yoga is the selfless service. Another one is Raj Yoga. So Raj Yoga means the practice of meditation. The way we do meditation and all, like modern science called it as mindfulness. But I want to draw a line here, like whether mindfulness is good, like for to get rid of anxiety and stress, but mindfulness is exactly not meditation. So you can say that mindfulness is one of the step for meditation, or one preliminary methods of meditation, but meditation is something more deeper than just mindfulness. That is called, and this path is described as Raja Yoga. And the last one is Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga means the path of knowledge. So basically, what is the path of knowledge? So path of knowledge means that we are discussing about some higher thoughts. We are discussing about scripture. We are debating with each other. Because the advantage of this scriptures thing is that if somebody is saying something, the other person should not or must not accept it without questioning. They need to question it, that they need to do a debate, and then they may conclude the debate, they may not conclude the debate. That path is called the Jnana Yoga. And if we look now, and this part is the most suitable for like people with a very logical mind, and people with a very emotional mind, this bhakti yoga is extremely suitable, because for them logic may not work. So that's why, like people can select either one of the path or a mix and match of the path or whatever. It is dependent on their personalities. That's why you will see nowadays, like younger generation, they have a tendency to like focusing on experience based religion, not on path based religion, because experience means, can I experience something? If you are saying that consciousness is infinite, can I experience consciousness? So that is the thing, and the one of these four ways. But again, this practice is like, it is very easy to tell in theory, but the practice is not that easy. For example, karma yoga, most of the time, and we'll see many of the time, like those like who we like working and serving the society, for us like this karma yoga is the most suitable and the most easiest path. But the less we expect something in return, the better it is, and I think it is the better it is for the whole universe as well. And the last thing I'll tell about this Chicago address of Swami Vivekananda. So Vivekananda was the first Indian monk to come into the United States 1893 in the World Parliament of Religion in Chicago. So there he told this one that I will quote you like from a hymn which I remember to have repeated from my earliest boyhood, which is every day repeated by millions of human beings. As the different streams having their sources in different paths, which men take through different tendencies, various though they appear, crooked or straight, all lead to thee. So that means like that is the uniqueness of this ancient Indian philosophy, that even though like religious studies or various texts are showing different paths, but at the end of the day, each of these streams, like consider those streams like a river, at the end of the day they all are leading to the same goal, and that goal is like merging with the consciousness. So I think that is all for me. Yep, that was the last slide, and thank you so much. Yep.
All righty. Well, thanks. That was very interesting. Yeah, let's can you stop sharing screen and we'll see if anybody's got comments.
Yeah, please.
I like the part about not expecting something in return for doing good deeds. I think some of our Western religions, you're expected to do things not because they're good themselves, but because Jesus wants you to, or whatever. So that
I see.
was yeah. I like the part about being complementary with modern medicine rather than a replacement, but helping people with a better lifestyle might be a complementary way to achieve good health.
Yeah, another thing was like at that time the environment was so pure, like no environmental pollution, no this internet, nothing and all. And at that time, like if people used to work only on this like herbs and all, it used to work in a very nice way. But nowadays the problem is like we are living in a competitive society, our environment in many of these places are not very pure. That's why we need a like immediate cure. That's what is the basic difference between these two, but these are complementary to each other.
Oh, Joe, we can't hear you. Can you unmute?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I pressed the wrong button. uh, where can we get this book?
So I am
You
sharing
wrote
the
the
Amazon
paper
link
on?
here. Yeah, so I will share the Amazon link here. It is available in Amazon. Let me share it here. I only have one copies left. Whatever I brought, I distributed here. So let me share.
They didn't give you too many author copies then. So are you going to put that in the chat?
Yeah, I'm putting in the chat.
Excellent.
Where is the chat, David?
It's a button on the bottom. You should.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, Amazon.com. Yeah, this one.
Okay, I see it pop up there.
I've got a problem. I've got a problem with my computer. I can't read the bottom of the screen.
That's fine. I will send this link to David, and then he can circulate.
Yeah, I can send it out. In fact,
Yeah,
I've got it
that would
on
be
the
thank you.
chat already, so we've got that captured courtesy of Zoom. Yeah. So I had a question about the areas you talked about, and there's a Krishna .org movement with many articles by Srila Prabhupada.
Prabhupada. Yeah.
Yeah, and some of those are super interesting, but some are what we would describe as kind of strange. He says we never went to the moon, that the I guess the specific thing was the first planet is the sun and then the moon. So if we're going to go from the Earth to the moon, we have to go by the sun first. So it's more than 93 million miles away. So that just seems a little odd. And then they have another article that evolution is just not the right explanation for why we have species, and that several examples of evolution turn out to be frauds. So are they connected to the IKS knowledge system at all, or are they just off in their own areas saying things that some of us would disagree with?
So I would say it is more of his own interpretation. So I did not find any specific evidences on that. So in our ancient text, so like this Krishna consciousness movement, what happened is they rely on the first one. Like I told, 4 parts of yoga. First one was the devotion, like bhakti yoga. So they rely on the bhakti yoga. Now what happened is like whenever somebody, let's say it's translating, that time that person like may put his or her own thought a little bit. That is one. And another one is like sometime like they have to say something, thus people can at least believe it. I am giving you an example. So it is not exactly directly related, but it is indirectly related. For example, whenever in ancient India we had a practice that whenever somebody is dead in the body, we used to like we did not used to do any worship. So why? What is the science behind it? The science behind it is that at that time, like this disinfectant and all those things are not there, right? So that's why, like, but if you go to a temple, like temple is a gathering place for many people throughout the society. That's why they used to give a period like let's say 14 days, and so like whenever you make sure that you know you are cleaning the whole your house and all, etc., etc., and after that you welcome to go. Then we do a little ceremony like this memorial, and after that you can go. Now so that was the science, but the problem is like if you explain people with this, many people will not accept this. So that's why they said that hey, you know, the like religiously it is not allowed to go. So that is a easy way to convince people. But coming to your specific question on these two, like one is the sun, moon, and all, I did not see any authentic references that it has been described in that way. So I would disagree with that. That is one. And next is the regarding this Darwin's theory. So Darwin's theory, I also saw some like some modern researchers also oppose it, but I think their logic was not this that like they did not oppose it in that way that evolution did not exist. Probably they like oppose it in this way, like the analysis was not correct. So so that is the thing. But again, I don't have a lot of background or study in that region, so that's why it is extremely difficult for me to comment on the second one. But the first one I can comment like it is mostly his own interpretation.
Okay, well that's fascinating. Thanks.
Yeah.
I have a question about something you brought up early in your talk about the intrinsic coupling between the human mind and things outside the human mind, like the physical universe. What we would in the Western way would talk about is physical universe and so on. If that were true, then, well, first of all, it sounds a lot like the Greek philosophy of, what is it, solipsism? The position that what an individual feels is all there is. That is, his mind creates this illusion of the external world and so on. And there seems to be abundant evidence that there is an external world outside any individual human mind. Back, if you look into geology, humans weren't here for a long time. At best, 350 million thousand years ago, for our particular species, human-like, but probably not with a brain sufficient to comprehend a lot of their external world. Goes into the early millions, but there is that problem, and then you get to the problem of people who deny what most scientists do anyway, feel is reality, like the moon can be measured, its distance can be measured by multiple sensors, visible light and near visible light, pulse return, time of return, radar, just a different frequency of the electromagnetic waves, and so on. And the moon, the sun, even farther away, and the terrestrial planets, and then the gaseous planets, and so on. And people just flatly deny that. They even some deny that the Earth has a roundish form, and that's probably true on the range of 100 meters, or maybe even 500 meters. But my father was a land surveyor. The meridians actually do converge. So a difference of longitude by a couple of degrees is quite a bit different down near the equator than it is, say, at our latitude of around 35 degrees. You can't survey the same distance between those two meridians at those different latitudes. And that happens in the southern hemisphere. And then there's the thing about the Earth is static, doesn't move, but why no one has, with the flat Earth concept, has an explanation for the circulation around low atmospheric pressure regions being in different directions in the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere, although they seem to recognize there is something like an equator. It's just a big circle on the flat Earth. But there are all sorts of physical things that are different, north equator versus south equator. And then you get into the interpersonal relations with people that just flat are aggressive. They're after you, or they're not after your best interest, and they're after their own best interests, which frequently are very narrow field of view. They can't even think strategically that one particular aggressive move might not serve them as well as, say, an in-round approach that doesn't alienate too many people.
Oh, okay. That kind of reminds me of Einstein when he was arguing with the quantum pioneers about you have to observe things to collapse the wave function, and Einstein, I believe, said that he didn't have to observe the moon to know that it was real.
Yeah, that's true.
So so it's a very like good logic. So the thing is that, like, first of all, like you're saying, this concept of flat earth, like David and I talked about this like long back. So
Yeah.
that is not true. So there is no, like you said, because it is true, because if I am like, going to a tower and looking here, everything is flat, but that is not true. But this body mind consciousness, the comparison is a little bit different. So like modern science until recently, like maybe last, I think cognitive science came into picture maybe probably last how many 30-40 years probably, I'm not exactly sure, but it's not very old. Like previously, like science relies on what thing? Like science is relying on, like you said, I am seeing something, I can explain it, I will accept it. If I cannot explain it, I will not accept it. So as simple as that, right? Like physical existence. But the problem is that like modern science until recently, they did not agree that mind and brain, these two are separate entity, and all the conflict is coming from there. Like mind, brain, consciousness and body. So modern science used to merge like consciousness and mind as a part of brain. So it is not a part of brain. So that's what cognitive science has now started discovering, that okay, whenever somebody is in a meditative state, what is the like changes going on in that person's mind. But unfortunately, and I can give examples like those people who are spiritually very advanced, at a very advanced level. I have not seen any of them, but I know many of my like ancestors, they have encountered those. Like they will be able to tell you what is going at this point at your mind. And this is not a wrong statement. If you read the autobiography of a yogi, it is a very authentic book. So you will see there, how is this possible? So basically, but I cannot tell, like I will not be able to tell what is going inside your mind, or you will not be like able to tell what is going in my mind, because those people are at a different level of consciousness. That like the all conflict was coming, like nobody can deny the existence of physical nature. So if that is the case, then I would not have been here. I am here, I cannot deny. Can I deny that I am working in like New Mexico Institute of Mining and Technology? It is real. It I cannot tell that it is false, but the conflict was coming because we are thinking brain, mind, consciousness, all this is a single entity, but these are not a single entity. These three are the different entity. That's why like we are connected to each other. So that is the part of consciousness. And like another thing is that modern science, and another thing is that consciousness, the problem is it is not something like can you prove it with an experience, sorry, can you prove it with an experiment that everybody all the world can see? First of all, like science is not yet that advanced that some machine will just tell about okay, consciousness does exist. But if you look at the experienced people, like who followed this like various paths, like either the path of meditation or the path of selfless service and all, and at that time they documented their experience, and they are documenting that yes, I can feel whatever I, the same I is existing in all other living entity. That's why let us not harm anybody. That's what, like when Buddha reached enlightenment, at that time one child asked you, what are you? Not who are you, what are you? So then his reply was, I am Buddha, the awakened one. That is awakening. So awakening is not like I am sleeping now, I suddenly awaken. Awakening means I know the reality, that's it. So if we just separate this mind and brain consciousness, this, then everything is valid. Then science is also valid, consciousness studies are also valid. So that is the thing.
Did I kind of missed when you talked about AI, about the fact that it could or could not have consciousness. Which is it? Can AI have consciousness, or is that was that definitely not a could never happen? Which
Yeah. So basically, so I will send another link of a book by Yuval Noah Harari. So Yuval Noah Harari is a best-selling author from he's a professor in Israel, and there is a book in 21st 21 lessons for 21st century. So here he explained a lot about what AI is doing or what AI cannot do. So basically, what is a conscious being? So nowadays you will see like ChatGPT. After ChatGPT came into picture, whenever we are putting something, ChatGPT is giving me the response. But one thing ChatGPT is not able to do, it cannot experience suffering. So that's what like Yuval's version was. Like we humans, we are conscious entity. Any conscious entity, we experience suffering. An animal can experience suffering. So now the question is, can AI be conscious? That is the question. So today's date, like if I take today's date, AI is not conscious, but nothing is impossible in science. And it is possible, let's say like 20 years down the line, AI is becoming conscious. That means becoming conscious means it is, what is conscious? Conscious means it knows about its existence. That yes, I exist, that I is the consciousness. Then that's what I told. Even if it is possible, it is not a violation of the Upanishadic laws of consciousness, because consciousness is described as an infinite entity. So even if AI is describing that yes, I am aware about my existence, that is totally fine. So my feeling is that probably in the future AI will be able to generate something conscious, but again it is not a violation of this like consciousness principle. That's what I wanted to tell.
Okay, well, if that's the case, that AI can have consciousness, then consciousness becomes part of the conglomeration of electronic pulses that humans have set up. And obviously, then consciousness becomes part of, if we want to call this electronic accumulation, the mind or the brain of the AI, then obviously they are together and consciousness cannot be separated from the mind.
No. So basically the thing is that, so AI's consciousness, so consciousness means the highest level that AI can do is that it can become aware about its existence. That for example, AI can say that yes, I exist. That's the maximum thing. Again, it is I am assuming. It may not be ever possible by science. I am assuming the highest level of scientific discovery could be that AI is telling that yes, I exist. But the problem is like whether AI will be able to connect itself that yes, you exist, that is fine, but you are not different than the all pervading consciousness. So that answer I don't know at today's date. But if you look at human experience, that humans like they have practiced and they have documented that yes, I can realize what is my true nature. It is a very interesting question and discovery to see whether after let's say 50 years or 100 years will AI be able to do that. So it's, the answer is not known today. That is the answer. And this is the book, I just sent another book link. So it is a very good book. Here the author talked a lot about this AI consciousness and stuff. I really love that book.
Fascinating discussion. Thanks so much. Does anybody have any more questions? All righty. So I think, yeah, next month, Keith Gilbert is going to be talking about his book. So that'll be interesting. Looking forward to that. And in June, we've got this big Skeptic Camp coming up. So that'll be really our first return to in-person meetings since the COVID. So that'll be something to get together.
Nice.
Looking forward to it.
Nice,
Hi,
nice.
Dave. Is there any chance of getting the name of Keith Cover's book that you mentioned he's going to talk about?
Yeah, it's in the newsletter and it's on the website. And I think there's a link if you want to go to Amazon to get that book or whatever. That's on our website too.
David, can you please send the
Thank
link
you.
of your website? So I have not seen that.
I'll just put it right here in the
Yeah,
chat for you.
yeah. Thank you.
Here we go. We've got a new website for this Skeptic Camp.
Wow,
There you
very
go.
nice. NMSR.org. Very good.
Yeah, and that's got links to the meetings, past meetings, all sorts of articles, puzzles. We like puzzles.
Very nice.
Okay. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Fascinating discussion. And okay, I can hear somebody typing.
Oh, I'm typing. Sorry.
Oh, no worries.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm
So
just
yeah,
typing.
I'll
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
send out these links. Alrighty. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Till we meet again. Take
Thank you.
care,
Yeah.
everybody.
Thanks again.